Okay. Well, things that we do for friends. The last presentation of Finnish Games Week. I promise that I will try to make it smoothly and don't go that far and deep. Some people here knows that I really like to talk, but I'll try to keep straightforward. And actually, congratulations for the curation because this topic, I think, it's really relatable on the last two panels. And we'll be talking about crossing latitudes. Crossing latitudes, of course, it's the name of a game jam that it's the topic that we'll be discussing here. But we not be talking about the game jam itself, but things that the game jam can tell us about cross-cultural collaboration, team building in game development, and especially how to make game industry a better place. That it's the goal of We Love Games as a community. So this is João, a Brazilian. Yeah, I think ChatGPT thinks that it was Brazilian art stereotypically. And this is Jonne, a Finnish person. And they happen to be also game designers. And apparently ChatGPT thinks that Brazil game designers drink caipirinha while they make games. But well, one problem about these two persons, Jonne and João, is that they are really good game designers, but probably they will never have the opportunity to make games together. Well, they might have if like Fingersoft or Metaplay or Supercell hires one to go to Finland to make games, or eventually Wildlife hire Jonne to work in São Paulo for a game company. Well, if it's not the case, they would never be working together, even with all the potentialities that we have today on making games without constraints of borders and anything else. And well, that's why exists Crossing Latitudes as an event. And it's not something that I created or invented. It was an amazing idea creation together from We Love Games and the Embassy of Brazil that, well, strangely, our embassy sponsoring and supporting a game jam event. How crazy it is, right? This kind of thing, it's trying to put all together different cultures making games because we don't need barriers to collaborate and create and co-create. And we don't find a lot of places where we can foster these exchanges. And this year too, besides on the Helsinki embassy, we also had the Hague embassy in the Netherlands. Why? Because, well, I'm a Brazilian, but I'm living in the Netherlands now, making a postdoc there, connected with the research there. I'll be talking a little bit about this soon. And now we have the capybaras and the reindeers and the cows working together for making games. Cool. And the subject of the game jam was collage. And again, really good choice. Collage of cultures, collaboration. And we have 13 amazing games being developed during this game jam. Some of those games, I particularly thought that it was really, really good, like this one here, The Lost Letter, made by Gabriel Jericó, William Carvalho, and Caroline Garcia. It is an idle game that uses kind of this crossing latitudes thing too, where you go through the world and you send letters and then collect stamps out of it. But I want to comment about this one, Collage Collectors. It's a game that happens in the frontier between Brazil and Finland. I heard that it is somewhere between the Lapland and the Amazon. And in this frontier, this character here collects toys and things from the 90s childhood. And some of these objects are actually things that both Brazilians and Finnish, they use it to have, and some of the doesn't use to have in their homes. And this team here, it's formed both by Brazilians and Finns, and the team was formed by the organizers. and how we formed those teams, how we stimulated in an online game jam these game developers to coordinate and ended up in a team. Well, we asked them in the beginning of the jam, all of them to, like in the introduction, to input, and we asked them a question. We gave them two options. The first option was like all these online game jams, they would go to Discord, self-coordinate, and will organize their teams like they always do. I'm a programmer, I'm looking for an artist, and so on, like this always happen. But also, specifically this year, we also pushed them forward to try to make cross-cultural teams. They were not obliged on it. In the other years, they were not obliged on it, but we pushed this a little bit for them to try to have at least 2 nationalities represented in the teams. And the other option they had was, I would like the organization to support the team building, and then you'll be assuring that you will have 2 nationalities represented into the team. And then we need the science on how to making it. And no, Brazilian scientists do not drink caipirinha and Beckers or anything like this. Yeah, ChatGPT, it's strange. But I am a Brazilian scientist, and in the Netherlands, now in Finland, trying to figure out how to coordinate these things better. So let's go to the science. These giant floating heads in the screen. It's really strange to see that big screen. Well, me, that you know, I'm Dr. Pedro Santoro Zambon, and what I've been doing before joining Utrecht University in the Netherlands was mostly working on ecosystem building stuff, making game design of policy making. Like I always say that, and I really like your presentation, because, well, I work with institutions and all kinds of organizations trying to make things for games, and building an incubation program or building a course or making like a public fund or something. It's basically game design. And I have been working on this with this objective, or trying to help indie game devs to survive and thrive. But I was limited on the lack of tools for doing it. Talking with many colleagues and our network, I'm also part of IGDA, and I recently joined the global board. But before that, we built like a special interest group of game incubators and accelerators. And we have now 150 something institutions doing these kind of programs. And every time that I talk with someone from Japan, Shosato, to like Suviki VM here in Helsinki, we constantly see a common problem. We can help a team that exists, but sometimes we can give thousands of hours of support and mentoring and everything. The problem is in the team. It's the wrong people together, or is the right project with the wrong people, or the combination between the project and the people are not nice, or it's a really good game designed game that is poorly artistically made, because really good programmers, game designers without anyone artistical in it, or opposite. It's an astonishing game, unplayable. So how to fix it? We cannot rebuild the team. And the maximum thing that we could do is like matchmaking something during conference. But come on, you were here. Do you talk with everyone that is here in this audience? And in Pocket Gamer, how many of those who were there, you actually had the time to talk and explore the possibility of being a potential partner? And then going back to Game Jam, in a Game Jam, we also don't have the opportunity to explore all the potential combinations and partnerships that you could do. And you ended up forming the team with those who are close to you, or your friends, or friends of your friends. And then your combination possibilities to forming teams are limited by your social relational skills and network. We don't need it. Especially, well, if you don't have that willingness to talk with people like I do. And then this second floating head besides me, it's my partner, Greek, living in the Netherlands, doing research. And she's a really smart computer science associate professor in Utrecht University. more than 10 years researching optimization algorithms and using these algorithm methodologies to enhance teamwork collaboration. For games, no. For other things, including creative tasks. And I was like, well, maybe we might collaborate to create some sort of tool for solving a problem that we have in our industry. How to improve game dev team formation. Is it task, right? No, it's not. But at least we have some clues on where to start. And through these, and with the Team Me Up, the project that was in the screen, we reflected a little bit on, a good game technically need to sum these three things. The game that you want to make, and many game devs stop there. The game that you can make, so the scope, the resources, the abilities, the knowledge, the budget, and then, of course, the market analysis, the game that you should make, the market feasibility of it. Let's ignore it for a bit. Not ignore you, ignore for the presentation, you need to look in the market. But here, the important part is, from those things that you want to make, which one of those you can make? And depending on the team that you have and how you form the team, you can expand the possibilities of what you can make and eventually give you more of tools for what you want to do. And most of the times, you realize that you have a lot of dream games in your mind, pretty good ones, but the problem is that you are not capable of shipping it. Okay, so what is a game dev team? A game dev team, it's a match of many things. But most of the time, we stop here in skills. I'm a programmer. There is an artist out there. Okay, artist. Oh, we need a game designer because we need designing the levels. Yes, game designer. Oh, we also need to make marketing. Yes, let's bring a market person. Oh, we also need to make business. Yes, let's bring a business developer. And then we match people on skills. But well, if I take one artist, one programmer, one game designer, one producer, one market person, business developer, put in a room, lock it with pizzas and coffee, and make your thing by random, they will not necessarily work together efficiently. Because it's not the only thing that you need to count when you build a team. There is another thing that it's the work style, that it's like the root of the what you call like the culture, like the way that you do stuff. In most of the times, or massively, there is no right or wrong. Like working synchronously or asynchronous, what is best? Well, I don't know. Depends on the common agreement and the project and the context, or planning ahead, or and never change the plan and implement it, or be like flexible when you want to implement something during the development. I don't know. That depends. But the way that you work, people work differently and might affect also the compatibility between people. And then there is something really, really important that, well, our colleague already addressed a lot about this, motivation. Why we are doing this, why are we making games? Some people are more driven by creative expression, feeling that the game that I'm making materializes what I want to make, my vision, my artistic expression. Some people are more driven by money. I want to make commercial success. I want to have, well, being rich with games. Good luck on that. Others might be more affected by peer validation. They want to be appraised by their peers. They want awards. They want like go to an event and see that their game are being played by other game designers and they are liking what they see. And the others are really, really caring about the reviews of the players, how in the media the game will be framed, and so on, so on. And this thing will be affecting sometimes how do you feel that it's you validate or you do not validate what your partner feels about something, because your motivations on why you are doing this might be different. In a game jam, it's the same. Sometimes in a game jam, I'm going to the game jam because I want to test some idea for a commercial project. While your objective of going to the game jam, it's making friends, have fun, and yeah, go around. So might be a problem with it, right? And finally, there is a Y missing or whatever. There is a last thing that is blurry and complex called personality, that it's also affected by culture, as we saw, and in the first presentation, it was really well explained, like this cultural intelligence environment and how it affects the way that you behave, but also your individual personality, and yes, how it affects this communication style, interaction with people, and so on. Okay, so how we deal with this, and taking the smart, and I needed to put a Star Wars reference, especially on the screen. Taking on Yoda when he was trying to teach the stubborn young Skywalker as a Padawan in Dagobah, before making this really talented but stubborn Jedi to try to save the galaxy. The thing that he needed to do was enter in the cave, looking inside himself and understanding some stuff and facing some stuff and learning about their inside before like going abroad to exploding Death Stars. Well, this process is the self-assessment of teams that start with self-assessment about yourself and then observing the others around you. And I will not, of course, talk detailing on all these things, but basically it's the sum of expectations and collaboration and how these two things balance together. The expectations, it's basically your level of commitment, the motivation, already explained about this, and also the fears. And people might have different fears and behave around these fears. For example, someone that, well, need to have a lot of kids or people that it's in their paycheck, they have fears that others that basically anyone depends on them will not. So understanding these different fears, it's also important. And beyond that, the collaboration, it's more the practicalities of these interactions. That is, as I told you, work style, personality, leadership. So different styles of leadership affect people differently. Skills, as I told you, communication, that is kind of what connects all of these things, and relationship with conflict. People behave differently when in conflict. So let's go back to the game jam, and how do we match those teams? I put them on cave with Master Yoda, and then they inputted me in a survey these informations about themselves. And the first information that was basically measuring the commitment was no right or wrong here, but how frustrated they would be if they could not develop a good game in the end of the game jam. And a good game, it's also, well, what is a good game? Well, for you, what is a good game? And you see that some of them would not bother at all. Some of them will have a lot of frustration, some frustration. And you could imagine what would happen if you take two persons of that group with two persons of that group and make them work together. It's a fertile soil for them to clash. And then you have the motivation. So unsurprisingly, we are in a game jam. We have fun as the top motivator. They could choose as many options as they want. And but then we have diverse types of motivators. For example, some of them were searching for job opportunities, others training for a specific tool. In the bottom, we have even some wanting to explore ideas for a commercial game. You can imagine that these factors, people are joining the game jam for different reasons, and ideally, combining people with common interests or most common interests possible will generate better teams. Art style. Well, what happens when you have a pixel artist and a 3D modeler working in the same team. They cannot make both at the same time. So some of those will need to, okay, well, let's do pixel art or let's 3D model, because you cannot make, or I don't recommend you to make a game jam that use the both art styles. In this sense, you ideally need to try to address these two. The same thing with game engines. So a Godot developer that never touched Unity, and then there's two programmers that they will need to clash to see which those tools will be used. And finally, work style. I addressed basically two dimensions. One, it was, and two that I consider more central in the environment of a game jam. One, it's I prefer to work my task individually and meeting only when necessary, and I prefer my team members being available at the same time on our Discord channel. There is no right or wrong, but it will be really annoying if you want everyone in Discord and people disappear and then return with the assets made or something. And in the other dimension, planning ahead, let's ideate, create a plan, execute a plan, and that's it. Or the others want like to explore creatively while they create. No right or wrong, just work styles. And with this information, we could take two approaches. One, it was like define how important are each criteria to form a better team, top down, or like poking Natasha and say like, which criteria is more important than the other? Poke Andrea and Lillian from the embassy and say like, well, what do you think about pairing people? What is the important things? Or we could ask the jammers. And the approach that we took on, we match people based on what they input us. That was the important factors in forming a good team. And then they distributed like 100% weight between these factors. They could, for example, if I am an artist and I will not touch the game engine or barely touch the game engine, I can put on 0% in the weight of game engine, for example. So it is how we approach this. And then we run the algorithm. So how we do this. So the methodology that we use we can, as I told you, either use 100% top-down decided of the nice to haves that we want in that team, or you can put on the user preference. In this case, we put 100% user preference, and we didn't define any weights, predefined weights on which one of the factors are more important than the other. We run the algorithm, we form the teams, and boom, they started to work together. It was good. Well, let's see. Well, the overall satisfaction of the jam was pretty great, but normally they are. Game jams are low stakes. People are open for anything that happens, so it's common that people ended up satisfying a game jam, but still, pretty satisfied group of people, especially in an online game jam that engagement it's reduced and so on. And then we have like what do you think about the collaboration with your team? And most of people are very satisfied, neutral dissatisfied. But here it's the information about all the jammers, not only those who was paired by the algorithm. Then I narrowed down a little bit in here, and and again, it's not statistically valid or scientific validated because it's only one game jam, small number of jammers, but let's explore a little bit here. And analyzing why the cases of dissatisfied neutral with one algorithm team happens, it's basically because one of the team members jump out and things happen, but also we taken too long to announce the teams because we needed, back then, it was the pilot, first time doing it, I needed to manually run the algorithm for making the teams. And you imagine like we announced the team, people are waiting for the teams being announced, and they spend like the whole 40 minutes, I think, waiting for the teams being announced. So it might be, and looking on the feedback, it was the case. Not something that we'll repeat, but only looking around it. And basically, that's the point when I wanted to get through it. Do you want to collaborate again with someone that you met for the first time during crossing latitudes? And when you look into the algorithm-formed teams, probably, eventually, at least 7 Brazilian, Finns, or whatever other nationality that were around those teams, they might want to collaborate and continue to collaborate together. And that's the kind of effect that we are looking for. Broaden the potentialities of collaboration in the industry. So to summarize, and I think I'll open the stage for concluding our amazing event, how long will be limited by these social connections and relations for the potentialities of partnerships that we have in our industry? And I think what we are doing here with We Love Games as an online community, and this effort to have things online, this effort to have a Discord community active beyond the event, I think it's how we build these possibilities. And Crossing Latitudes has a central point on it. And one last thought about this. Why it's a Brazilian embassy is sponsoring it? Well, I cannot tell from their perspective, but I am a Brazilian. And well, Brazil is the most culturally diverse country in the world and the most genetically diverse people in the world. And I think it's one of the intrinsic traits of Brazilians being open and basically chameleons culturally. And at the same time, intrinsically, there's something about the Finns. I don't know how to explain it because I'm a Brazilian. But since the first time that I've been here, 2019, something happened that I always coming back. And why? And I was always wondering about this, and especially thinking on the games industry. And I think the point is this, I think, natural willingness to collaborate. I know there is stereotype of things being shy and everything, but there is this intrinsic empathy that reflects on in being the most active and powerful IGDA in the world, reflects on having more associations and groups that I never seen in a country with a population smaller than São Paulo. And all of these things reflects on how multicultural are this industry. If we look here, the nationality, we'll see like pretty much everywhere. And we're seeing the stage here in We Love Games. So I think that's the source of the success of Finland in the games industry. This multiculturality that invites people to go to a place that got dark for a quarter of the year, and people keep staying here. And yeah, so there is something on it. So yeah, let's partner together. Yeah.
Wow, Finn is smiling there. Nice.
And
Only in
kiitos,
ChatGPT.
obrigado. And
Thank you, Pedro.